Well, Anthony Albanese says disasters have become more intense and more frequent in Australia during his time as Prime Minister. That's no surprise. He leads a disaster-prone government. Oh, hang on a second. He meant natural disasters have become more frequent, as opposed to Bowen, Giles, Chalmers, Wong and Plibersek-induced disasters, which seem to occur now on an almost daily basis. The PM was flying over the Grampians Sunday to inspect fires that have burned through 76,000 hectares of Victorian National Park. Albanese told journalists,
"We live in a country which has harsh conditions."
Well, that's true. Housing is unaffordable, electricity is unreliable, and hospital beds are regularly unavailable. Harsh conditions indeed, Prime Minister. Oh, hang on a second. You meant we live in a country that has naturally harsh conditions, as opposed to those created by the Labor government. Well, sure. Australia's always been a harsh land. Dorothy McKellar said so in her famous poem, My Country, back in 1908. But Anthony Albanese went on and added this.
It's always had fires, it's always had these extreme weather events, but the truth is they're becoming more frequent and more intense. And that has been something that I've been Prime Minister for 2.5 years, and I have been to natural disasters and extreme weather events in every single state and territory of the country.
Well, if extreme weather events are becoming more frequent and more intense since Anthony Albanese has become PM, all the more reason to vote him out of office. But I think what the PM meant to say was that he is more aware of natural disasters since becoming PM. Having criticised Scott Morrison for missing a fire, Albo now needs to attend them all. But let's imagine the PM is right. You know, that human activity is having such a dramatic effect on the climate. Natural disasters have noticeably increased even in just the past 2 years. Well, why is he not using his much-vaunted relationship with Xi Jinping to say, hey, quit the fossil fuels already, you're setting our continent on fire? After all, if Pacific Island leaders reckon our energy use is sinking their islands, why aren't we calling out China's energy use for setting fire to ours? The Chinese can, of course, relax. There's no way our government would risk losing a couple of borrowed panda bears in Adelaide due to finger-pointing over climate change, or reckless behaviour toward our armed forces, for that matter. But besides all of that, the PM's claim is utter rubbish. Exploring Australia's east coast in 1770, long before internal combustion engines, Captain James Cook described the land as, and I quote, a continent of smoke, and noted that we saw smoke by day or fires by night wherever we came. This week's fire in the Grampians is significant to be sure, though nowhere near as bad as previous fires dating back to the 1800s. The Forest Fire Management Victoria website lists major fires occurring in the state in 2019, 2015, 2013, 2009, 2006, 2005, 2003, 2002. Do you want me to keep going? 1998, 97, 85, 83, 80, 77, 72, 69, 65, 62, 1952, 1944, 43, 42, 38, 32 and 1926. And that's before we talk about Red Tuesday on February 1st, 1898, when fires burned 260,000 hectares, killing 12 people and destroying 2,000 buildings. Or worse, what about Black Thursday in February 1851? Fires covered a quarter of what is now Victoria, about 5 million hectares, killing 12 people, along with 1 million sheep plus thousands of cattle. Natural disasters such as that in the Grampians this week have not become more frequent or intense since Anthony Albanese became Prime Minister. He's not that important. The statistics don't lie. Albanese, however, he can be a little elastic. $275 power bill reduction. To be clear, I'm not saying this year's fire in the Grampians is nothing to be concerned about. I'm just pointing out that the Victorian government's own records show this fire is not particularly unique nor historically intense. Nevertheless, a forest catches fire, as forests in Victoria have done for centuries, and Prime Minister Anthony Albanese, well, he is on the scene. No one had to coax him to be there. But you know, there was another fire in Victoria just recently at a Jewish synagogue. And Prime Minister Anthony Albanese waited 5 days before having to be shamed into showing up at that one. It seems to me like the National Park fire helps Albanese, It serves as a welcome distraction from his government's ineptitude, and it assists in ramping up fear over climate change, a necessary ingredient for support of his renewables push. The synagogue fire, though, will that only serve to highlight his government's ineptitude when it comes to maintaining social cohesion. Now, the irony here should be plain to see. The PM has little ability to stop fires such as the one in the Victorian High Country. As Albanese himself said, it's a harsh country. Bushfires happen. But synagogue fires, well, that's an entirely new phenomenon that has become more common under his watch indeed. Australia's always been a safe country for Jews, and Australia still could be a safe place for Jews if the government was serious about hosing down anti-Semitism, and if Penny Wong would stop inflaming opinion against Israel at the United Nations. But when it comes to anti-Semitism, neither Elbow nor Wong nor Burke seem to hold a hose. Exaggerating the Grampians fire serves this government's ideology. Acknowledging the synagogue fire does not. You know, sometimes the Albanese government wants to be the fireman, and sometimes the Albanese government wants to be the arsonist. It all depends on which way they think the smoke will blow.